Mr. Lay probably thought he got it first, but actually it was long before. So the point is that Dandadas became the favorite devotee, and all the Brahmins were thinking, why is this Grihasta wrestler, Shudra? No, he's a Shudra. Not, wrestler is not considered to be a Kshatriya, he's considered to be a Shudra, because he's not expert in military warfare. He just grabs onto somebody and pulls them down by his weight. So, and they were envious. And so then one day they had a big argument before Ramanuja about someone had taken the cloth of another Brahmin. And Ramanuja said, now I'm going to show you what real attachment is. Because I'm sending two of you to the house of Dandadas. He's gone. He's not there. I want you to just take his gold and jewelry and bring it to me. They thought that was an unusual request, but they thought finally this low-class Shudra will be exposed, how attached he is, and we're Brahmin. So they went, and his wife was there. So they were a little reluctant, but they took, and she had these beautiful big golden earrings. So they thought, let us take those. So they very carefully took one earring. But then she was awake, and she thought, oh, the servants of our master are in need of something. Let me turn over so they can take the other earring. So as she turned over, they became startled. They ran away. They brought back the earring. And Ramanuja said, all right. Now we'll wait and see what happens when Dandadas comes back. He said, oh yeah, he's going to be angry. So he came back. He asked his wife, what happened? She said, no, the Brahmins have come here to our house. They took my earring. And just as I was turning around to give them the other earring, they ran away. He said, you foolish woman, you're so attached to your earring that you startled them away. You should have just taken it off and given it to them. No. You're attached. He said, immediately gather everything we have, every jewel, every piece of gold, everything valuable. We will take it immediately. They took everything, all of their possessions. I mean, not the furniture, but all the gold, jewels, everything. They said, our dear master, there must be some need. Take everything we have. So Ramanuja said, just see how detached this Grihastha is. You're supposed to be Brahmins living in the ashram, and you're attached to one little piece of cloth. You become angry. And here's a man who is ready to give all of his possessions to Krishna. So this is what surrender means. It doesn't mean, of course, we don't expect everyone to do that, to get all their money and gold and jewels and bring it to the temple. But if they do, we won't complain. If you want to do that, you're welcome. I gladly accept it. But anyway, so this is what Krishna is saying. You don't have to bring it to the temple, but you have to understand that it belongs to me. Everything belongs to me. Just like Sanatana Goswami. When he embraced Lord Chaitanya, he had all these sores all over his body. And when Lord Chaitanya pulled away from him, he saw the pus and the liquid stuck on the body of Lord Chaitanya. He thought, just see how offensive I am. I have offended the Lord physically, just like Bhrigu Muni. But the Lord was just like the Lord. And when Bhrigu Muni struck him on the chest, he became humble. He showed humility. So Lord Chaitanya, he smiled and he went away. But Sanatana Goswami thought, when Rath Yatra comes, I will throw myself under the wheel. Now we don't recommend this for, if you're having some problems in life, don't throw yourself under the wheel. But if you do, don't do it here because, we have a lot of problems with the police. Because we have Krishna Kripa here to negotiate. Not a good idea. This is for very advanced devotees only. So then Lord Chaitanya, the day before Rath Yatra, he said, why do you think you can do this? What? Why do you think you can throw your body under the cart of Lord Jagannath? That body belongs to me. I have plans for that body. Therefore, you cannot do this. So here Srila Prabhupada said that the Lord has plans for all of us. And what is His plan? His plan is Bhagavad Gita. That's the first plan. You get this plan implanted in your life, then you'll get more plans. Then you get the Bhagavatam plan. Then you get Chaitanya Charitamrita plans. Then you get Sri Guru and Gauranga plans. You get instruction. Sometimes people say, well, the Guru is not giving me any instructions, but then what you think, maybe I'm not willing to accept them. Just like Srila Prabhupada, one time, one devotee wanted to have a second wife. No, he wanted to get divorced. And so he came to Prabhupada and he asked, Prabhupada said, oh, all right. And his secretary, or his servant, said, Prabhupada, but you always speak so strongly against divorce. How could you say that? I mean, I don't understand. And Prabhupada said, oh, if I would have said no, he would have done it anyway. And then he would commit offense against the spiritual master. Therefore, so this is the duty of the Guru, has to understand the attachment, the level of attachment of the disciple, and therefore instruct them accordingly. And sometimes you can't give any instruction. Sometimes people have so much false ego that even their own Guru cannot instruct. Even Prabhupada could not instruct. That's how strong our false ego is. So Krishna here is giving us the formula for going beyond the false ego, going beyond material conception of life. And he says that this may appear in the beginning, this Bhagavad Gita may appear to be a little bit like military discipline. And of course there's the letter where Prabhupada speaks against military discipline. In that letter, one devotee who was a very heavy leader, and Prabhupada said, do not force the devotees like this. Prabhupada said, this is not some boot camp. No, it's not some military camp. But Prabhupada here is saying it is like a military camp. You have to accept discipline. But Prabhupada's point with the other devotee was that yes, you can give military discipline to a surrendered soul, because they are coming, they're offering their life as brahmacharis or surrendered Brahmins. And they're saying, like Srila Prabhupada said to his spiritual master, he made the most essential question and he got the perfect answer. The most essential question, the best question you can ask the spiritual master. Anyone know what that question is? How can I serve you? Yeah. That is the most essential question. No conditions. No conditions. Not, I would like to do this. That's okay. You can do that. But if you want to be surrendered, you say, how can I serve? Just like one time, one devotee, Prabhupada wanted him to be temple president. So he said, no, Prabhupada, I can't do that. I have my wife and that. So Prabhupada called him in, and he said, you are one of my senior devotees. So we need more preachers. And since you don't want to be temple president, I want you to take sannyas. Prabhupada, no, I can't do it. I've only been married for like 5 years. How can I possibly take sannyas? No, you must take sannyas. We need preachers. And he said, Prabhupada, I'll do anything, but just don't, okay, then be temple president. No, so Prabhupada tricked him. No. Transcendental trick. No. So, this is, but we shouldn't negotiate that way with the spiritual master. We shouldn't force the spiritual master to convolute the situation so that he can get someone to do what he wants them to do. But Prabhupada was so intelligent that no one could argue with him. No one. No one could ever defeat Prabhupada. Even Professor Stahl, who he thought that he was very intelligent, Prabhupada, he could have continued to argue, but he just, said, what's the use? This man was just, he's got so much false ego of being a Sanskrit scholar that he will continue to argue. By the way, I just read an article today that NASA has approved Sanskrit as the most perfect language, the most perfect computer language. They said it's the only language in the world that is totally logical. And now they're using Sanskrit in NASA's computers. They're not using English or any other language, they're using Sanskrit. And one scholar in India said, because of this phenomenon now that people are discovering that Sanskrit is the best language for computers, that soon Sanskrit will become a worldwide popular language. So we can see how Lord Chaitanya is arranging everything that the Vedic culture will come into the world. You can see that. I just wanted to throw that in as a side note. So anyway, this is the real essence of spiritual life. Even if we can't do that because we're afraid of what the spiritual master or what the spiritual authority may say, we may not be so humble or so surrendered that we can say, how can I serve? No. Because I've had a few people say, very few people say that, and then when I say something, they don't accept it. So they say, well, why did you say that? Why do you say, how can I serve? If everything I say, you say, I can't do that. Then you should say, I want to do this. That would be more direct. I don't have to go beat around the bush to get to the final answer. Like, how can I serve? Do Sankirtan. Oh, I'm not good at that. Well, why don't you do puja? Oh, no, I never learned. Well, why don't you cook? Oh, no, I burned too many things. Well, why don't you, become the temple commander? Know that people don't respect me. Well, then what do you want? I want this. Okay. Oh, thank you so much. So that's not surrender, that's negotiation. So we're not supposed to negotiate with Krishna. And therefore Krishna here, in this verse, is giving us the elements by which we don't negotiate with him. No. He's giving us those elements. He says, Sinyasya, giving up completely, adhyatma, with full knowledge of the self, cetasa, the consciousness. Otherwise you give up all unnecessary things completely. Sannyasya. Srila Prabhupada says in his purport that Krishna is Atmatmana, the soul of all souls. What does that mean? That means that Krishna can understand our heart better than we can, because he's the soul of the soul. So he understands the soul, just like in our heart, we can understand what is my real motive, what is our real desire. We know that in our heart. Sometimes we don't want to reveal that, but we know this is what I want. When somebody tells us to do something we don't want to do, our mind becomes disturbed. Our heart, the mind and the heart, the mind is just the external apparatus that expresses the desire of the heart. But in the heart of the soul is the super soul, who expresses to the soul what you should be doing. But even then, sometimes we don't want to do that. So therefore, knowing that Krishna is the Adhyatma Atmana, the soul of the soul, then it says here, Sanyasyatma, Yatma, Cetasa. Sanyasyatma, Cetasa. That one should give up completely because one understands that Krishna, he knows better what is good for me than I myself know. Just like parents, they know better what is good for the child, except for when the child's like 2 or 3 months old. He cries, and they think maybe he's hungry, and that doesn't work. Maybe he's tired, that doesn't work. Maybe so when they're very, very young, but after some time, the parents know then the child thinks differently. Even a little child, they'll cry and cry until you get it right. So, but the child generally doesn't like the idea of the parents, unless the parents say, let's go to Disney World, or let's go to the toy store, and you get whatever you want, or let's go to the ice cream shop, then they'd be very happy. But otherwise, they're usually not so anxious to get what the parents want. So here it says Krishna is expecting us. This is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. But as Srila Prabhupada says repeatedly, Arjuna knows all these things. He's simply taking this position for our benefit. Just like Krishna says in the beginning of the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that what I'm giving you here, Hita Kamyayam, this is only for your benefit. It's not for me. I don't need your service. I don't need for you to do this. You doing this will not help me. This is for your benefit. It's not for my benefit. This is Krishna's message to Arjuna. So then, there are three considerations here. Srila Prabhupada emphasizes: Nirashir, Nirmamo, Vikatanchvara. Yujasva Vikata. So Krishna says here, Yujasva. Yujasva, you have to fight. But he qualifies, how does he want to? The important thing is not the fighting. But the important thing is the attitude. Here Krishna is describing the attitude of fighting. It's not just fighting. No, anybody can fight. That's very, especially here in Trinidad, we know that very well. Anybody can fight. Anywhere in the world, people fight, argue, all over the place. But the thing is, how do you fight in pure consciousness? No. So Krishna gives three basic qualifications. Nirashir. No. One should give up all personal desires. No. Asha means desire, and nirasha. No. Give up all personal desires. Nirashir, nirmama. And give up all sense of false ego, false proprietorship. This is mine. And vigata jvara. Jvara means fever, and vigata means the fever of bodily consideration. So these three things, nirashir and nirmamo, these are in the mode of passion. Proprietor, being the proprietor, having more things, Srila Prabhupada, this is mode of passion. And nirashir, having so many desires or motives independent of the Lord, that is also a mode of passion. And vigata jvara, that is the mode of ignorance. Give up lethargy, what Prabhupada says. Give up, work without desire for profit, no claims for proprietorship, and give up your lethargy. So otherwise he's saying, give up the mode of passion, give up the mode of goodness. Give up the mode of passion, give up the mode of ignorance. But he also says, you work with knowledge of me. With knowledge of me, adhyatma, knowledge of the self. So adhyatma alone is just knowledge of the self. That is the mode of goodness. But actually Krishna is saying, you must be transcendentally situated. Nirdvando nityasattvasto. He says later on. That you have to be situated near Yogakshema Atmavan. And how do you be in goodness? You give up the sense you give up the desire to acquire things and preserve things. You give up these two desires, then you can be free from duality. So here he's saying basically give up ignorance, definitely. Give up passion, unnecessary things that spring out of material desires within the heart, and even give up, or modify or purify those desires in the mode of goodness. And how does he saying that? No. He's saying it by saying Mai Sarvarni Karmani. Full knowledge. Full knowledge. Evan Yaschasna Tatvataha. That Krishna says in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that one should understand Krishna as he is. Bhaktya Tvananyaya Shaktya Aham Evam Vidorjuna. That Krishna says to Arjuna, if you want to understand me as I am, Gyattum Drashtum Chatatvayena, in truth, you want to understand me, you want to see me, and Pravishtum Cha Paramtapa, and you want to enter into the very mystery of my existence. To do that, you have to be Bhaktya. You have to be executing devotional service in pure consciousness, ananya, without any other interest, motivation. It's the same basic thing he's saying later on in the 11th, toward the end of the 11th chapter. So that's what he's saying here. Give up these things. And there's where Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that these are the steps. You give up ignorance by giving up lethargy. Otherwise you work for Krishna. But you don't just work for Krishna. Sometimes a devotee becomes a little proud. I chant 16 rounds. I follow the 4 regulations. And sometimes people are proud of that. And whenever you become proud, it means you're interpreting things relative to others. Because if it's relative to Krishna, that's the proper point of referring to something, is in relation to Krishna, the soul of all souls. Adhyatma Chatasa. So, but if you're proud, it means that you're comparing yourself to others. So Krishna says, don't do that. Understand that I am the Supreme. And that's what he says in the beginning of this verse. And he says in the previous verse, that I am the Supreme Personality of God. Not the previous verse, I'm sorry, a few verses back. So, surrender all your works to me in full knowledge. Because someone can tell us to surrender, just like sometimes, especially in ancient times, kings would conquer some other country, say, surrender everything to me. Just like Srila Prabhupada said that during the Muslim invasion in India, the Muslims would put a sword to your throat and say, do you believe in Allah? And you say, of course. Prabhupada said, very effective preaching. But it's not convincing. Not that they were convinced. Not that, yes, let me worship Allah and not Krishna. But they were forced. So also, somebody can come and conquer Trinidad and say, everybody has to follow this system, everybody has to follow me. Like North Korea or other places. Dictate. You have to follow, but that's not in full knowledge, nor is it without desire for profit, nor is it without a desire for proprietorship of objects, and nor is it without lethargy. It's simply forced upon us. So if something is forced upon us, then it will have very little benefit. But if we take it up voluntarily, we take up devotional service voluntarily, we take up spiritual life voluntarily, then it will have a great effect. So, as Srila Prabhupada says here, one has to sacrifice everything for the goodwill of the Supreme Lord, and at the same time discharge prescribed duties without claiming proprietorship. So what does that mean? What does that mean that sacrifice everything for the goodwill of the Supreme Lord? What is Krishna talking about? He's saying that, Srila Prabhupada is explaining what Krishna is saying. He's saying that understand that everything is for serving Krishna. Otherwise, Krishna doesn't need it. Krishna doesn't have to come and clear out our house, or although he did. That actually was one of the things that made me try to surrender. One day I came home, and there was nothing there. Just an open door. Took everything. Somebody pulled up in a truck and took everything. And as the neighbor, there was a neighbor, and said, and so these are very smart thieves. They got my name and everything. He said, "Oh yeah, Mr. So-and-so, he's moving." Oh. And he sent the truck here. "Oh, okay." And he loaded up everything, took off. Of course, then I had nothing. I said, Krishna says, we have nothing, so now Krishna has put me in that position. So let me surrender. So anyway, but we don't want to do it like that. Krishna's not saying, I want to take your objects. I want you to know that they belong to me and they're supposed to be used in my service. That's what Krishna's saying. He's not wanting us, as I mentioned in the beginning of the class, he's not wanting us to give to him the objects. Although Ramanujacharya, he demanded it. Why did he demand it? Because he wanted to engage everyone properly. It's not that he needed it. So Krishna doesn't need what we have. But why does he take something, or why does he demand something? So that we will become more surrendered. But the best thing to do before Krishna has to do that is to surrender everything and understand it belongs to him. It's exclusively for his use. It's like sometimes you buy an electronic apparatus and it says, "Do not remove this tag." Like it's something for warning for an electrical cord or something. So there's a warning. So this is Krishna's warning. Krishna's giving us a warning here. Don't be possessive. Don't be. Don't think that I need something. You should understand that I've given you so many things and I want to give you more. Oh, okay. But under certain conditions. I want to give you more. Because you've agreed, we've all agreed to surrender to Krishna, to come to Krishna's lotus feet. And because of that, Krishna is speaking Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada once, one lady devotee had a certain type of dress Prabhupada didn't really like. So Prabhupada said that we should dress very nicely for Krishna, in the way that Krishna desires, not in the way that you desire. Just like one lady came to interview Srila Prabhupada, she had a miniskirt, and so she asked Prabhupada, "Why do you shave your head?" And Prabhupada said, "Oh, so that we can have a cool head." Prabhupada said, "Better to have a cool head and warm legs than cool legs and a hot head." And she understood it. I don't know if she changed her dress, but anyway, Prabhupada didn't beat around the bush. He definitely said things as they are. So, because this is culture. Krishna is giving us the ingredients here for surrendering to him. He's giving us, Bhagavad Gita, if we really understand it very carefully, we can see how scientific it is, how perfectly scientific, how perfect every aspect of it is, how Krishna is so intelligently, because Krishna is the supreme intelligence. Krishna says later on in Bhagavad Gita, I am the intelligence in man. I am that intelligence. I am real intelligence. So here Krishna is revealing real intelligence. Sometimes we consider ourselves very intelligent, or we may consider that we have a great analytical nature, and we may have it. But if you become proud of it, or if you think that it's something that you've produced, then the effect will be negative. And just like the effects of karma, sometimes the negative effects of our activities, which are performed, even though Krishna conscious activity, like I said, I'm chanting 16 rounds, if you're proud of it, then it becomes an impediment. I'm following the more regulated principle. Krishna's in your heart, He knows what you're doing. If you're not chanting 16 rounds, it's not like you can report that you're doing it and you don't do it. Because ultimately, who is going to give you the results of your action? Not that person in front of you. Not the authority in the temple or the sannyasi or this person. No, Krishna is going to give you the results of your actions based on your degree of attachment and your degree of surrender. When attachment for material things is low and attachment for spiritual things is very high, then we become, we can surrender to Krishna very easily, very quickly. But that requires some effort. So these are some thoughts on this particular verse. I'm going to stop here. Any comments, any questions?
You were speaking about the disciples' possessions, what he has, and I kind of gathered that whatever the disciple has, that also is surrender to the spiritual master. It's just a
Not what?
The disciple, whatever he has, his surrender to the spiritual master. Whatever he has, assets and so, all that is also surrender to the spiritual master. And he sees it like that. This belongs to my spiritual master.
That's the ideal. One should try to develop that consciousness. But generally speaking, there's always a process of negotiation. That Krishna, yes, you can have this, and I want this. Divvy up the booty. You get this, I get that. It's easy to accept all these things theoretically, and it makes sense, and it's logical, and we can see what Krishna wants, but generally speaking, we can't do it. So, where Srila Prabhupada said, surrender should be gradual. It's a gradual process, a learning process. But you have to try to do a little more every day. That's the secret. A little more surrender every day. And then you can have real success. Any other questions? Yes.
Yes, indeed. Sometimes, in this material world, you meet different people with different level of consciousness. Even like you might meet people for the spiritual side of life, whether it be from different religion, might be a priest, a pope, or high-ranking position. And all of the, yet still you see that they following the recipe of the religion. And sometimes they're not feeling this pure love of God, because according to the desires while they live, they are not being entangled. Either they fall from the high position because they may be a high priest or a high pandit or maybe a guru, and they may be still attached to the material desires that you also explained here. That sometimes the higher you go, you can be shot more highly. So sometimes like name and fame, sometimes a person might be novice, might get beautiful wife, intoxication, gambling, illicit sex life, and so many things they can give up. But why is it so difficult to give up sometimes like name and fame? You reach this high position and people thinking they're the best guru, the best Swami, best pandit. They're still like that. What causes these things?
Well, just like Srila Prabhupada said, Even a sannyasi can be attached to his danda and to his kamandalu and to his japa. So, but it's not a question of higher devotee or this and that. It's a question of whoever can please Krishna the most. That's the best position. Whatever you can do for Krishna in a very wonderful, nice way, that's the real essence of Krishna consciousness. And not that I'm a higher devotee, I'm a lower devotee. Krishna consciousness is not like some club where you're an executive gold member or something, and you get these privileges. It's actually, as one advances, it's just the opposite. One feels that I am the servant of Krishna, or the servant of the Lord of the gopis. And we keep scaling down, but we become more blissful, and we actually become more qualified. Because to perform devotional service, to attract the fallen conditioned souls to Krishna consciousness, there has to be a certain degree of purity in the heart. That has to be there.
So is it worth to check your spiritual advancement while going on the path? Like see about losses and give up from envy or anger or greed or being fame or these things?
A real devotee doesn't even worry about coming back or not. A real devotee is concerned with pleasing Krishna. Of course, at some stage we have to just want to go back home, back to God. But a real devotee is just trying to please Krishna. That's the best platform. Safest. Srila Prabhupada said, Kirtan Ras is the safest place in the three worlds. Before the deity with the Vaishnavas chanting the holy name. That's a wonderful place to be. So I want to thank you all for your kind attention and for having me here, tolerating me, and giving me this opportunity to do some service for Shri Nitai Gaurachandra and for the Vaishnava. I hope to be back very soon. And anyway, I'll be in Londonville for a few days. And so if anybody wants, I'll see you again. You can come. Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Nitai Gaurachandra ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
His Holiness Guru Prasad ki.